Welcome. My name is Dean Silver, MD, MDH at the Silver Cancer Institute. Today we're going to talk about ozone. Guess what? Cancer does not like oxygen, okay? And the immune system is underactive as we age or we have cancer and we get chronic infections. And ozone stimulates and repairs all that. So the unique ability of ozone stems from the actions that it has on the membranes of the white blood cells. Okay, it causes them to secrete these great messengers that raise our immunity. These messengers are called cytokines, cytokines, cytokines. Some of the cytokines are interferons. They have names like alpha, gamma, interleukin-2, a tumor necrosis factor. There's many. But when I give ozone, these beneficial cytokines go up and the patient's and my immunity goes up. So commercially, you can do some of these things, but in nature, I believe it's more better to use all of them. So we use ozone to raise all the cytokines and to raise the immunity. Now, this is the problem with cancer. The first thing that happens in cancer is that the oxygen level goes down. So the first thing to remember is that ozone stimulates increased uptake and utilization of oxygen to kill cancer, okay? So anybody that gets ozone, their oxygen levels go up. And what's that do? That downregulates many cancer genes, okay? So the ozone is also stimulating the release of the oxygen. For doctors out there, there's an increase in 2,3-DBG, superoxide dismutase catalase, and glutathione peroxidase, and this further helps with lowering the cancer load by increasing oxygen. Okay, so there's a shift in the right to the hemoglobin saturation curve. It's called 2,3-DBG. It goes to the right and more oxygen is released. Very important. I've been doing ozone myself since about 2000. Listeners out there that remember, I had a lymphoma. I had thousands of hours of radiation in the cath lab. And I started doing ozone, got my teeth fixed, had my root canals pulled, got on some homeopathics, and cured myself. So now we do a lot of oxygen therapies to restore the mitochondria. The mitochondria is where cancer starts. So when there's low oxygen, there's aerobic glycolysis. The cancer cells start fermenting, and the patient first gets chronic disease, infections, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, obesity, and there's a deficiency of glutathione, superoxide, and catalase. And what happens is, the great thing about ozone, it's a potent inducer of all these enzymes. So it's driving the mitochondria, it's driving the conversion of pyruvate to acetyl-CoA, and lowering the amount of lactic acid for any biochemist out there or any doctors out there. That's the mechanism. It's driving everything through the Krebs cycle and through oxidative phosphorylation. So when I give ozone to a patient, I'm improving their overall health. And with ozone, the utilization can go up as much as 40%. So oxygen utilization can be improved as much as 40%. So this is really difficult to imagine, but it's incredibly easy, and I suggest anyone out listening, especially with cancer, needs to get on some ozone. And we're operating under an investigational research board, so we report to the FDA monthly. I've been involved with this study for a couple years now. I've been on ozone. My wife Jeanette takes ozone. My son takes ozone, Renzo. So we all do ozone. Why? Because we want to increase our oxygen utilization. We want to burn fat. We want to kill any cancer cells in us. So it's used for many conditions. Now, the next thing that ozone does, it improves blood circulation. Okay, so it thins the blood. So it's better, the blood is better able to kill the cancer. What this is doing, it's enhancing their rheological properties. In other words, the blood is able to pass easier. In other words, when you have blood, you don't want to have thick blood, okay? You want to have thin blood, like wine. You want to have the blood flowing really good, okay? So that's another thing that, that ozone does. So basically, it raises your immunity. It makes the blood thinner. Now, don't forget, if the blood's thinner, you carry more oxygen in it. We've already increased the oxygen through the first effect, so we're raising our oxygen levels. We're killing off the cancer. The blood is able to get in the capillaries, the very small vessels. So the delivery of the ozone is really improved, and their delivery of the oxygen is improved, and this is through ozone. So remember out there, for anybody with any chronic conditions, you just don't have to have cancer. I mean, you can have chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, MS, ALS, any kind of heart problems, any kind of autoimmune inflammatory diseases. You want to increase your blood flow. So of course, like we said before, you want to raise your immunity. So ozone is a multifactorial. It's not only for health and longevity, but it's also for, I believe, for cancer. And we know that ozone is also anti-inflammatory. So what do cancer patients have? They have high inflammation. So ozone will lower the inflammation. So it raises immunity, thins the blood, lowers inflammation, and actually shuts off many cancer cells, because when oxygen is exposed, these cancer cells die. And basically everyone knows ozone is a mixture of oxygen, which is O2, and O3. So the molecule is extremely unstable, this O3 molecule, and very quickly forms these beneficial, they're called ozonides, O-Z-O-N-I-D-E-S, ozonides. And the ozonides diffuse into every part of the body, including all the cancer cells. And you know what? The cancer cells don't like them. They don't like them. So the ozonides come in, they go to the cancer cells. The ozonides have a lot of oxygen. We already said before that cancer cells don't like oxygen. So it's a really beneficial thing. Now, the link between low oxygen and cancer, it's quite clear. In 1931, there was a doctor, his name was Dr. Warburg, W-A-R-B-U-R-G, and he won his first Nobel Prize. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? He proved that cancer is caused by a lack of oxygen. Let me repeat that. Dr. Warburg said that cancer, and this is 1931, is caused by a lack of low oxygen. So low oxygenation, and that's from toxins and carcinogens and buildup and biofilms and heavy metals and poor lifestyle and bad food. These all build up around the cell. This is in the mitochondria. The mitochondria don't use oxygen anymore, and they switch to aerobic glycolysis. In other words, what that's doing, it's called fermentation. And the fermentation, guess what it feeds on? Sugar. So it's not feeding on oxygen, it's feeding on sugar. And this is called aerobic glycolysis. So anybody eating glucose out there, anybody eating sugar out there, like bread and cereals and fruit and juice and packaged food, that sugar is feeding your cancer. Okay? It's making it divide. It's stimulating circulating cancer stem cells. It's causing metastasis. It's causing migration. Okay? So all this is through different pathways. P13K, AKT, there's another one called C-MYE. These are pathways that react to the low oxygen and react to the sugar. And cancer cells have these pathways, and this causes cancer spread and migration. So this is how ozone and oxygen is very, very important in cancer. So in other words, what's ozone do? It raises oxygen, it raises your immunity, it shuts off cancer cells, it changes genes, and as oxygen levels drop, remember, as oxygen levels go down, your cancer will grow. So wherever you live, I suggest you coming to a state where you can get some of these treatments. The University of Colorado in Denver, they recently published an article showing that lack of oxygen in cancer cells leads to the growth of the cancer. And you can go on the internet. It also leads to proteins. They're called HIF, inducible factor 1A. It's hypoxia-inducible factor. And CD24. These are factors that have been implicated in aggressive characteristics of cancer. This is why you need to get some ozone. You need to get some hyperbaric. You need to get some ultraviolet blood irradiation. Again, ozone cures, helps with cancer. You need to raise your oxygen levels. If you need more information, please call us at 480-860-2030, 480-860-2030. I'm in Scottsdale, Arizona. The other website is deansilvermd.com. This is at silvercancerinstitute.com. My wife and I, Jeanette, would love to help you. We'd like to see you here. We have cancer programs that last from 1 to 2 months. So please call us. Thank you. Thank you for listening. Best in health, Dean R. Silver, MD, MDH. Until next time, thank you.